Raymond, the Warriors have 21 more games to prove that they belong in the postseason with the rest of the Western Conference. So, Raymond, if they've got 21 more games, that means we have 21 more episodes to make our playoff push for the podcast playoffs. Raymond, what do we need to do to focus and get into the tournament?
We need to spend the next 21 days talking about who the Niners are going to pick with the number 3 overall selection, because that is the hottest topic in sports world right now. In fact, today's date is 4/8. 21 games from now, we're going to be on April 29th. So it's synchronistic by design.
You know, I love that no matter what happens on this show, we can always bring it back to the Niners.
This is the GoldCast.
Boom! Welcome to another edition of the GoldCast. We are the voice of the Bay. I'm your host, Rudy3, and with me is my brother, my co-host,
Raymond Solis the first, baby.
Boom!
We'll see you next time.
That's it. Thank you so much for being here. Raymond, this is a nice change. This is how we know we're entering the middle of the year, or we're starting to enter towards the mid-year. We're still about a couple months off. But for sports-wise, today is a day where the 49ers are going to be the final topic of the day. And we're actually going to be opening with the Golden State Warriors. Although maybe not in as exciting a fashion as we had hoped several weeks ago when Candlestick Will was on and we were talking about them. So let's begin, Ray. Let's begin with our Warriors. So it's been rough. It's been a rough couple weeks. Warriors have, the lack of offensive support for Steph Curry has really started to catch up. They're still a very strong team defensively, but offensively, it has just been kind of a nightmare. And basically, teams have figured them out. They've figured out how to quarantine Steph Curry and give themselves a huge offensive advantage against the Warriors. And so the last 4 games, let's just go through these real quick. We lose to the Heat 116-109. We lose to the Raptors 130-77. I mean, that was just rough. Then we lose to the Hawks 117-111. We come back in what was a barn burner against the Bucks. We win that one 122-121. But looking at the rest of the schedule, Ray, we have 21 games left in the season. So here's what we got. We've got Wizards at home, Rockets at home, Nuggets. Okay, Wizards garbage, Rockets garbage, Nuggets really good. Nuggets right now, as far as the standings, they are sitting at their Nuggets are 4th in the league. Then you've got Thunder, Cavs, garbage. Celtics, pretty good, up and down, better than the Warriors, I'll say that. 76ers, second best team in the East. Then you got the Wizards again, the Nuggets again. Then you get the Kings, another garbage team. Kings are sitting at 12th. Thunder was sitting at 13, Rockets at 14. Just breaking all these guys down. Then you've got the Mavericks. Mavericks are starting to pick up. They're sitting at 7th spot. Then you have the Timberwolves, which are dead last. Rockets again. Pelicans, which are just behind us. We're ranked 10th. We're the 10th seed. They're the 11th seed. Then you've got Thunder back-to-back. Jazz, the number 1 team in the league. Suns, number 2 league in the team. Pelicans, and then we end with the Grizzlies. Grizzlies are sitting at 8. They're in the spot we were hoping to be at this time. So, Raymond, looking at that schedule, we have a couple tough teams in there. You've got the Jazz, the Suns, you have the Nuggets, and then the Celtics and the 76ers. And the rest of the teams are pretty bottom barrel. Pelicans sitting at 11, Kings sitting at 12, Thunder at 13, Rockets at 14, Timberwolves at 15. I mean, so you've got some, it's a little bit of a mixed bag between like the bottom of the league and some of the best at the league. And so, Raymond, the question I have for you, when we had Candlestick Will on at the midway point, he believed the Warriors were going to the playoffs, and now you did not. So I ask you again, has the needle moved at all? Or are you even more confident in your initial judgment that the Warriors would not make the playoffs this year?
I mean, the Warriors, I feel like right now are a one-trick pony offensively with Curry. And if you take Curry out of the equation, this team struggles mightily to get points. I mean, Draymond's has been, criticized about you need to score some more. All those other things that you do is really good, but the one area where you've sucked your entire career, but at times you can turn it on when your focus is really there. He can score when he wants to. When he came back from the suspension in the finals, he had like 35 points. I think in the first half or something like that. So when the effort's there, he can score. I mean, there has to be a better recognition by the supporting cast, in addition to players like Draymond, to just like, you've got to put up points, to support Curry, because that's how this team was so successful in the 5-year finals run that this team had. That's because everyone that was in the lineup could score. And the bench could score. The bench could in those years, the bench was good enough to be a starting rotation for, a mid-range team, trying to make a playoff run. But this current team is there's just so much youth and inexperience, in addition to players who have just not gelled with this system. Not to mention, to get even more specific, this team does not do the pick and roll as consistently as the Warriors of old. And that's a big element that was part of their success during those runs, and they're just not doing it enough. Kerr himself even came out and said that they need to do that more consistently. So, I mean, there's like 4 or 5 good teams left in this 10-game stretch. Well, we have 10 games left,
21.
Or 21 games, sorry. And there's like 5 good teams in there that we're going to play multiple times, and the rest are teams that we can arguably beat. I mean, we've beaten good teams before, but those are few and far between, as the record indicates. So, I mean, to me, there's a really good chance that, I mean, if they continue down this, I don't think we're as bad as the Pelicans or the Kings. So I feel like the 10 spot is kind of ours to lose, but the Warriors seem to be really good at losing right now. And they've been really good at just being they've been very consistent at being a 500, sub 500 team for majority of the season, when I really think that on paper, this team has more potential to be like where the Dallas Mavericks are right now. Look at them. Think about how we were talking about that team earlier in the season, and now they're 28-22, sitting in the 7th spot. So this is just, it's been disappointing, because I thought that the Warriors could get over the hump, but they just seem like they've been locked into this persona all season long, and I really don't see them changing trajectory at this point. And I don't necessarily see the Pelicans or the Kings catching us, although there's only 2 games that really separate these two teams, so anything can happen. They just really, the Warriors would have to, if the Warriors can continue to play like this, which is win 1, lose 3, win 1, lose 2, they'll be out of this in no time. And I think there's a good chance that they do get that way, because they're also not healthy. There's players that have been in and out of the rotation all season long, including Curry, who's always dealt with injuries his entire career, although he's played majority of the season this year. But I think the odds are higher that they don't make the playoffs, and I would love to be proven wrong. I'm trying to play some reverse psychology here, so let's see if it works. I think the Warriors don't make the playoffs, because I think that people have just got their number right now, and unless they figure out how to adjust, which is something they're not good at, then I think that the 10th spot is going to be hard to hold on to.
So obviously, if they get the 10th spot, then they're in the play-in tournament, and they get the 1-game play-in tournament to try and take the 8th seed, right? And so this is what they've been going for. And unfortunately, I have to echo you. I have to ascend you. Just based on what I've seen, even if they make that 10 spot, I don't believe they have enough to make the play-in tournament. I don't trust them. I don't trust this team. It's like you said, it's very mercurial. I guess it all depends. If we lose 2 before the play-in tournament, then we'll probably win it. But if we win 2 before the play-in tournament, it's a wrap. They're not going to win it. So it really just depends how those. I guess you basically going by the Warriors. How their whole season is gone, they basically have to lose the last 2 games to guarantee a possibility. But even then, going in as the A seed, do we think they're even going to put up a fight against the Jazz? I sure don't. I don't think so at all. So
and how many home games do they have? Because the one thing that the Warriors are not good at is playing on the road. They have double the amount of losses on the road than they do wins. They're 9-18, but when they're at home, they defend pretty well. They're 15-9, even though the season started off in the reverse in that regard. So if they can get, if they have a favorable home schedule in this next 20-game stretch, then I think that's a good shot. But if they got to travel a lot, which I'm seeing a lot of away games here, in addition to San Francisco games, the very end,
I counted.
What is it?
14 home games. So that's actually good.
Out of the 20. So that's good odds. So that actually, that favors us. Thank God. Because if it was more road games, then, with a 9-18 record, it wasn't going to favor well. So, maybe there is some hope there just because the Warriors do play better at home. They're clearly more comfortable at home, as most clubs are. But, they're obviously a little bit more dependent on that comfort zone than they are otherwise, at least Warriors past. So, we'll have to see how this plays out. But 14 games at home, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And they're over 500, so that means that they have a shot to end this, over 500. If they can end over 500, then there's a good chance they'll be over 500 overall, and they'll maintain the 10, and they'll be just fine. But they have a really slim chance.
It is a very slim chance, and to make matters worse, I think nothing encapsulates this season more than the fact that I just spent this entire Warriors segment with a Giants picture behind me. Didn't even have the Warriors one up. That is the Warriors season in a nutshell. Here's the one I was going to go with. That's how I feel now that I realize I didn't have my Warriors one up.
And ironically, the Warriors are more like, what's his name behind you gripping his shin there. And how Steph looks, that's how the fans feel. Yeah.
All right. Anyways, well, that's a sneak peek of the next one. Moving on, Raymond. Let's go to our Giants. There it is. You get to see it again, folks. In case you weren't, maybe I should just have the Warriors logo the whole time and really mess people up. No. So moving on, Raymond, to the Giants. So first 2 series are in the books. Opening day was here. Super cool. Really glad to have baseball back. Really exciting to see fans in the stands. That's been a cool thing. We're going to obviously talk about that in a couple minutes here. But the Giants went to Seattle first, played the Seattle Mariners. Game 1, even our cousin was talking about it, was pure torture. They were up 6-1 in the 8th inning, and then the bullpen gives up 6 runs in 1 inning. Mariners take the lead. It goes 7-6. Giants tie it 7-7 in the 9th, and then the Giants lose it in extra innings. Then they come back. We win Game 2, lose Game 3. We go to San Diego. Okay, San Diego Padres. Obviously, San Diego Padres. They're the second big powerhouse in the NL West, are expected to probably make a deep playoff run if everything goes the way they wanted to. Tatis Jr. had a breakout year last year. He comes in this one, Game 1, goes out, unfortunately, with a partially torn labrum, which opens the door for the Giants to really, take advantage of the situation. We take Game 1, we lose Game 2, we take Game 3. So now here we are sitting at 500. We're 3-3 total. Big bats. Our big bats are looking good. Our bullpen is not looking great. Liking our closer, and also liking Gosman, our starter. So what are just your initial impressions of these first 6 games for the San Francisco Giants?
Well, the way I view baseball, very similar to basketball, although I watch it in a broader spectrum, meaning I don't like to get give too crazy a takes this early in the season. They finished the trip 3-3, which is good. Great, we're 500. They also took 2 out of 3 from the Padres, which is great, including the 3-2 nail biter the other night, which was nice to see. Big home run from Ruff to give them that 2-run lead there to seal the deal. That was great to see as well. And the starting pitching was outstanding there. The bullpen almost scared me again when they gave up that second run to make it a 2-2 game. But thankfully the Giants offense responded with another that shot there. So I like all of that. That was great, but I think, just let's wait and see how everyone settles into the lineup, because so far they've settled in, and they ended the trip 3-3, which is great. That's fine to see. Now I just want to see, going forward, because this is all going to start to matter, once we get closer into 10, 20, 30 games. That's when you're really going to have a better idea on what we can expect from this roster, because baseball is obviously an up and down game, but the best teams will show more consistency. So can the bullpen tighten things up? Can the lineup generate more offense? We saw a bit more pop in this stretch here, so that was great to see. But we'll have to just see how things shape up going forward, because that's really all we have. This team is interesting. They've definitely got torture going in full-blown mode. They had 2 one-run wins against the Padres with the exact same score in each of those games. But I think that this team is their potential is there to really kind of be a bit more dominant than what they displayed in this 6-game stretch. But it's kind of time will tell. We'll just have to see, because I don't know. There's potential here, but it's really too early in what is going to be a very long baseball season, a proper baseball season, not the fake one that we got where you just, you had a lot of exhibition, you had 50 exhibition games, and then you had an exhibition World Series, and we have a steward holding the title right now, waiting to give it off to the proper champion at the end of this season.
The interim champion, Dodgers.
Yes, substitute. Fake champ. There's lots of
not my champ.
Yeah, not my champ. Who dat champ? Who dat champ? I don't know that champ.
Hashtag Nats still the world champs.
Yeah. So I mean, these are facts. And we do not argue with science on the GoldCast. So, but we'll see. It was nice. It's nice to see everyone back, and I'm just waiting to see how it develops. You know what I mean? Because the averages don't matter at this stage in the game. The ERAs don't matter at this stage in the game. It's all going to matter once we get about 30, 40 games deep. Then we'll see. Then all these stats are going to matter a little bit more, because you're going to find out who's being consistent and who isn't. And then Gabe Kapler is going to be able to adjust accordingly. Because right now this lineup's funky, the way Gabe Kapler is putting players in specific positions. I'm not quite used to it, but players have aged and changed, so I understand that. But it's just weird seeing some players in positions that I'm not normally used to seeing them in.
Absolutely, and I agree. And I think obviously he's clearly just trying to feel everything out and see what he has here at the beginning. I'm really happy. One bright spot before we move on, I'm really happy that Buster Posey's back. I think that year off was the best thing for him. He has been lights out and just playing at a really dominant level. They have no plans to play him at first base. He will be playing catcher all year, and I think that's a really good thing. One stat, Raymond, I know you said stats don't matter too much, but here's something I think is interesting and something that bears watching over the next month or so. The Giants starting pitchers have only allowed 10 earned runs in 34 and 2/3 innings. That is a 2.6 ERA as of right now. Again, only 6 games.
Right.
The bullpen,
they also homered. They homered, they had seven Giants homered in the first 6 games. So that's nice to see some early pop.
But real quick, the other one I wanted to point out, the bullpen has also allowed 10 earned runs, but in 18 and 1/3 innings versus 34 and 2/3. That is a 4.92 ERA. Just something to think about. Last thing, Raymond, before we move on, very cool. Oracle is going to allow fans in the stands. I think this is fantastic. I'm super excited that people will be able to go back. One of my favorite things when I used to live in San Francisco, one of the favorite things to do would just be to randomly, in the middle of the day, just get out of work or play hooky or just change all my plans and go hop in and see the last 5 innings of a Giants game. I used to do this all the time. One of my favorite things. Question for you. Are you excited about fans being back in the stands, and will you be attending games at Oracle?
Yeah, I'm excited to see fans in the stands because that's part of the game. I was excited to see fans in the stands at the Padres game. I was like, "Oh, there's fans at the stadium there. That's awesome. That's exciting to see." That means that means the noise that I'm hearing in the background is not being, is not being
piped in for us.
Simulated. Yeah, it's not simulated sound, so it's authentic sounds from the fans. I like that. So I'm very excited to see that from the Oracle game. And if my crazy schedule will allow it, love to get into that stadium and see it firsthand because I have yet to do that.
Yeah, well, maybe around my birthday, maybe we should go catch a game. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Wink, wink.
Maybe we should. All right, Raymond, final conversation of the day. Our Niners, as Lord knows, we almost never can go on an episode without talking about our blessed 49ers. Raymond, so the Niners are expected to re-sign Ronald Blair. Do y'all remember him? Pending his physical, he tore his ACL in Week 10 of 2019. That was the big, infamous Seahawks game, us trying to win 10 in a row. Very narrowly lost that. But we got him back in Week 17, so it's okay. But Ronald Blair, Raymond, probably adding some much-needed depth. In 2018, he recorded 5.5 sacks and 36 total tackles. And in the first 9 games of 2019 before his injury, recorded 3 sacks. So my question for you, is Ronald Blair good signing? Bad signing? What do you think about this?
I mean, it's good. It's good to have depth and continuity, so that's going to be nice. I've always liked Blair, but I think one of the things that was frustrating was that injury just kept him from tapping into his potential, because whenever he was in the lineup and he was 100%, he was someone that you could count on to, help generate pressure alongside the line. And unfortunately, that's just not been the case with his career. And I don't necessarily, it's just one of those unfortunate things, because he wasn't a high draft pick, so it doesn't feel as detrimental as if he was picked in like the 2nd or 3rd round, but it's still a little frustrating to see someone that you have fond memories of and has been productive on the field that has succumbed to injuries that will probably not allow him to ever reach. I don't expect a Pro Bowl out of this guy. But it's still nice to have him in the lineup. And if he passes the physical, which he probably will, then it'll be nice to see him back in action, because it's been a while since we've seen him. I don't know, what version we're going to get of him, but it's certainly not going to be the version of old. We'll just have to see if it's, if he'll come back in any kind of form that can be productive. So it's just kind of a wait and see. But at least they're re-signing him. So another player that we've all liked is coming back to the roster, albeit probably not going to be a version of his former self, but still having a familiar voice, body, personality in that locker room to come along with everyone else that we've re-signed in this offseason is never a bad thing.
I agree. I think he adds some depth. I will say I'm not of the ilk that it's a good or bad signing. I'll let you know by Week 6 what I think about Ronald Blair. But I think that at this point we need depth. My concern, of course, and I understand where Lynch is coming from. Lynch spent 3 really banged up years in the NFL and then was fine for the rest of his career. My concern always is players with a history of injury. I feel like more often than not, they continue to have a history of injury. And, and it really sucks. I'm a guy who personally, my B-boy career ended by a torn rotator cuff. So I get it. I get it. I had sprained ankles, sprained thumbs, sprained wrists. It seemed like I was also always kind of nursing something at some point. So I understand the how debilitating injuries can be. And so, because it's not like anyone's trying to get hurt out there. That's not the goal. So, but typically, athletes with historic, with a history of injuries tend to continue having a history of injuries. So I hope he can stay healthy. I hope he can continue. I hope he can contribute to the team this year. And so, congratulations, and hope, Ronald Blair, you ball out for us. All right, folks, we will be back next week to talk more draft. Pretty sure on Monday, barring a schedule change, our boy, you know him, you love him, Max Marsh, will be rejoining the show next week to talk draft with us. So that'll be fun. It's always a pleasure to have Max. He is so knowledgeable when it comes to the draft. I mean, he literally writes his own mock drafts. It's insane. So that'll be fun. And of course, we'll always be back with more Warriors, more Giants. And so concludes another edition of the GoldCast. We are the voice of the Bay. I'm your host, Rudy3 III, and with me is my brother, my co-host,
Raymond Salisa first, baby.
Boom! We'll see you next time. Same GoldCast time, same GoldCast channel.